welcome back to part 2 of Let's Chat, my story of suicidal thoughts, self-harm and more with Ryan. We hope you enjoyed part 1 and look forward to sharing part 2 with you.
I had my good days, I had my bad days. I mean, I could go for a walk, and then 2.5 hours later, 3 hours later, I'll be in the middle of the field not knowing how I got there. And that's how, but then there's other days where I couldn't physically walk, and they put it down to FND, functional neurological disorder, which is, and it still goes misdiagnosed. It still goes sort of, it's not fully understood how it affects people, but it's probably more common than people realise, and it is all to do with the mental health and whatnot, and it's the brain just can't keep up with everything, and it shuts down, and but it's like I said, this point in my life, it was just, do you know what, I'm gonna do it, and it was just, I think at this point, my wife had enough, and she was just like, do you know what, I'm going to go and get you. You need to go to get help. You need something to kind of get you where you need to be. And it was just a case of, she got me to the doctors, and the doctor at the time at Ivy Grove Surgery, Dr. Smith, I cannot thank that doctor enough, because he'd seen me in that 10-minute slot. And he says, right, 2 days later, come back. And he actually booked 3 slots for me.
Wow.
And he just went, he took me through everything. And he then referred me back into the physio, like NHS physios. He then referred me on to some other specialist. He'd started to try this medication, come back to me if you're not finding it adjusting. He'd give me some medication for my sleep and stuff like that. And he just spent a solid 30 minutes with me. And it was just, you know what, somebody's there to listen.
Yeah.
And that for me was like a little spark, right? If he can show me that he's got that time, I know he's going to be extremely busy, but then what can I be doing? And it was just, I made sure I went to all my appointments, and Rachel made sure I got there and stuff like that. And it was just, things had started to come together, and it wasn't an easy ride, don't get me wrong. I mean, I was registered disabled at this point. I had so much stuff going on, but it was a glimmer of hope.
Yeah, I guess having your wife as well to support you through that.
She's an absolute rock star. She's an absolute diamond, and I cannot thank her enough. And she probably won't listen to it, because she's not listened to a single episode of mine. But people have got to, having that sort of somebody there just to go, do you know what? I know you're not okay, but I'm here for you anyway. Yeah. Makes a world of difference.
And I think, it doesn't always have to be a partner. I think for anyone listening, it can be a colleague, it can be a friend. It's
absolutely
just that reaching out, isn't it? And just knowing someone is there to listen.
Like, even within Derbyshire County Council, and I don't know if you kind of understand the work that you do, buddy, but the stuff that you've put together, and the team that you've kind of got with it, especially with all the mental health first aiders, you check in with them, it's probably not as busy as it could be and whatnot, and you've got obviously the support network there as well. It makes a massive difference, so from me personally, thank you for that.
No, thank you. I think just reaching out is just invaluable, isn't it? And
absolutely,
just making sure everyone's okay. And I think that's one thing that I want to try and change a bit, is mental health doesn't have to be like, I don't know, bubble wrap and candy floss.
Doesn't. It doesn't. And what I would like to actually see is people treating mental health like physical health. Yeah. If you've got it's bit of mental robustness and stuff like that, and put for me, intentionally putting myself under pressure actually helps me feel better. And what I mean by that, if you want your physical health to get better, you go to the gym. You go to So why is mental health any different? And
disability and how that impacted your mental health so much as well.
Absolutely,
obviously on top of everything else. When did you start to see an improvement?
I would say.
And what did it look like?
End of 2018, beginning of 2019, I'd started started things within sort of the fitness industry, within sports, sports massage, injury rehabilitation, and all that sort of stuff. But that come from an interest of wanting to know what was wrong with my body and learning about my body more. And the more I looked into it, the more I thought to myself, if I can help myself, can I help other people? So that was that kind of point there. I was like, it was kind of a reset button, and for me that was a really, really big focus. I was able to have that sort of mental shift sort of 2018, 2019, and it was when I actually got a diagnosis of FND. You know, and things it was just like, do you know what, there's somebody listening to me, there's somebody that's taking the time to explain what's going on. I just said to the wife, I says, I am feeling better, I want to go out to the French Alps still. And she went, oh, right.
Okay.
That's what you want to do, go and do it. And then COVID hit while I was out there, and it was just like, something else. I'd got to a place in my life where I was like, I'm feeling really good, I'm positive. And then COVID hit, and it was a case of, got to come home. What do I do? You know, and I was fortunate that the company had honoured their pay, and they paid us up until the sort of end of the contracts anyway. Then they looked at, so how could they introduce a bit of furloughing. So I had that a bit of respite, and then it was like, do you know what? I need to get outside. Being inside, so I ended up window cleaning for the summer.
Yeah.
So while everybody else was cooped outside, I was outside cleaning windows. Yeah, I love it. Which for me, I think if it wasn't for that and a project that I was working on, which was from loads of people from different backgrounds, sort of counsellors, boxing coaches, football coaches, dancers, artists and whatnot. We all got online and we just started doing a project over that first sort of lockdown period. It was called the One Stop Shop. You know, which is where I met Jane, who become like a good friend and one of the inspirations behind Let's Be Frank. So this was kind of, I was thinking to myself, what else can I do? And that's where Let's Be Frank wasn't born, but Let's Be Frank started to formulate through something else, and this is where my mate Jack comes in. And we were very much trying to think, what can we do that's a little bit different? And we started we had a group, and we were on Facebook, and we started doing some talks and stuff. And we had different people reach out to us saying, "Oh, this is really good," and whatnot. And, you know, I kind of started stepping away from the one-stop shop, because for me it was not where I wanted to be at that point in time. I wanted to focus more on something like this and the group and stuff. We had people reaching out to us, "Oh, this is really helpful. This is really," and we thought something here. And then the Christmas come round again, and I was like, been offered a really good job in the Alps again. So I'm like, Jack, I'm gonna have to do this. I didn't get to finish my season last season. I'm going out to the Alps again. And he was like, fine, go and do it. And said to Rachel, she was like, no, go and do it. And that was for a company called Bon Santé. But unfortunately, mid-January come, Boris turned around and went, we're going back into lockdown. Great. All right.
Back home.
So I was at this point, I had a 2.5 week holiday in the French Alps, while everybody else was over here and whatnot. And so I managed to get back into the UK just in time. And I just thought to myself, my life ain't going to get any better than this. And I won't say I was at the point where I wanted to do any more self-harm or anything, but I had little thoughts come into my head. I started thinking about, do you know what if? And I snapped myself out of it by doing something. And this was just about the time where I just thought, do you know what? I did all that before in the first lockdown. What can I do that's a little bit different now? And that's why I started working on the test sites. That was my first introduction to the council. Worked on the test sites. I went for a couple of weeks, and then I got within the test and trace team. So doing all the phone calls to make sure, you know, where people have been in contact with other people. And then in October, I come into Live Life Better. That's where I've been since. But it gave me a new focus, and it was another way of helping people. A few months went by, and Jack had phoned me up. He went, Ryan, I've just lost a friend.
Mm.
Oh, buddy, what do you mean? He just took his own life. And that's where we both got heads. And Jack's got his own story, but Jack's dealt with his own mental health, suicide and whatnot, suicide attempts and stuff. And we just thought to ourselves, do you know what? We're two blokes. We've two got the experiences. What can we do that's we feel will help? So we got a group together on Facebook again, and we started a podcast. Let's be frank. And I have to say, although challenging from many different aspects, you know this one, it is probably one of the most enlightening experiences of my life. And the therapy that it gives me is absolutely fantastic. So it gives us an outlet to talk. Yeah. But some of the stories that we've had.
I was going to say, the sharing that I've just seen, you know, from what people have shared themselves or what you guys have shared and stuff, just incredible. And they're following it. Yeah. You know, they're following and really.
I can't, you know, we're 44 episodes in 12 months. You know, it was some grind. I'm just about to start recording again, season 3. Yeah. But Jack had a bit of a rough ride at the beginning, the end of last year, beginning of the year, and whatnot. Yeah. I'm not going to say I've not been perfect, but I've not been in the best of places myself. But some of the stories that we've had, and I just want to kind of, you know, highlight the power of conversation. 100%. And I've got two stories that come to mind. I've got loads of stories, but the two that come to mind, we did a thing called Have Your Say, which was a Google form that people could fill out, and they could ask us questions, tell us a story, leave a review and things like that. So we had this lady message us, and she told us this thing, and she was like, my son a couple of weeks back come to me and said, Mum, I need to talk. Do you have 5 minutes? I'm not in the best of places with my mental health. And the lady from America, and she turned around to her son, and she went, "What? You're 17 years old. What have you got to be worried about?" And for me, it kind of resonated in my own head. You know, from way back when, Mum was brilliant. My mum ended up bringing, I think, 6 or 7 of us up, and then, you know, she'd bring in other kids as well. She was a bit of a rock star, but it was kind of your mental health. It wasn't something that was talked about and whatnot. I'm not saying, you know, at the end of the day, she did a good job on her own, bringing us all up and whatnot, and just kind of got our heads together, and we went, we've got to answer this question. And we just put a podcast episode out around 3 different of these questions and stuff from different people, and this one we just went, do you know what, just hold your hands up and go, look, I really understand now that that you do need to talk to me. There is something going on, and let's sit down and talk. A few weeks after that episode got aired, we had another message come through from this lady, and she turned around, she went, do you know what, that really simple bit of advice, we sat down, me and his dad and him, we sat down, and he come to me and he called me after and he says, Mum, if it wasn't for that conversation, I was planning on killing myself.
Well.
And that for me was like, wow. Yeah. The power of conversation in a couple of different aspects. And, you know, it was a message we received through this Google form. Me and Jack put our heads together and we just said, we've just got to answer this honest. And that's what we did with everything. We just put our own thoughts together and just thought about it logically. And that was it. It was just like, wow.
Yeah, that's incredible.
It was really a powerful moment, and it was just that message that come back, and it's just said, saved his life. And then we had another one a few months after that, and it was I think it was a gentleman from Colorado. Just showing you the reach of the podcast. I think 45 countries. Wow. Nearly 300,000 downloads so far. Wow. So yeah, but it just shows you the reach of it. Yeah. And this gentleman, he says, look, you know, this happened a few years ago, but I lost my son, being bullied at school, took his life, walked into him. on the floor. And it really sort of choked me up. And he says, I found your podcast and I've been listening to it. And he really went into detail and everything, and it was just like, okay, he split up from his wife. They went their own ways, and he still turned around to me and said, she's still the love of my life. And he says, this was years down the line, a few years down the line, I've turned to drink, I'm in debt, I'm in this and that and everything else. And he just went, I've been listening to your podcast and it's given me the sort of motivation to kind of go and seek help for myself. He says, I probably never accept my son's not here anymore, and he says that's for me to deal with. And this was just about the time where my son had been born, and this is why it really resonated with. If you go through life with the open, the clarity, and the conversation, he says your son's in for a remarkable ride.
Wow.
And he just said, I was never that open with my son. And for me, that's where the podcast become different for me. It wasn't necessarily about me anymore. It was about my son.
Yeah.
And having that open forum for him to come forwards. And for me, that's my driving force now with my own mental health.
I think that's, one, a massive inspiration, but two, just such good advice in terms of just that listening, and you don't have to have the answer. No. But just support, listen.
And it goes for everybody.
Yeah.
Just whether it is a workplace, whether it's at home, whether it's your rugby team, your football team, your ice hockey, whatever it is, wherever you are in life, take 5 minutes and just go, are you okay? No, really, are you okay?
Yeah.
Or if you're on the other foot to that, knowing that friend that you think you can't talk to, go and talk to them, because you'll be surprised how many people will sit down and listen. And if they won't listen, there are people out there that will. And
Yeah, no, 100%. 100%. And it's just, reaching out, isn't it? I think the more we do reach out, and it doesn't have to be for big things, it can just be for the smallest things, it
absolutely
helps break it down a bit.
And what I would say to that,
just back to the podcast as well, I think it's great that you both acknowledge when you can and can't do it, and that you have to have those safety bits around it for you, and it's great to hear that it's coming back for another stint. So we'll definitely put the links into it and share it.
Podcast. The group, we're associated with a different group, which is Let's Talk. Which
is there any, final comments of just, you've mentioned a lot, I guess, how you've looked after your own mental health and what you're doing now, but just any tips, I guess, for anyone listening, especially any men that you want to share?
Absolutely. You're going to go through life, and life is not, it's not all roses and rainbows and whatnot, but what I would say is, if you are in a place where you think you can't talk, talk. Just reach out. Even if you're like I say, you're thinking to yourself, nobody wants to care, nobody's willing to listen. I promise you, there is always someone.
Yeah.
It might not be in your immediate circle, but you've got things like the Samaritans, you've got things like Mind and whatnot. You've got other organisations out there. Don't hide it, and you might think that taking your life is the only way out. It's a long-term fix to a short-term problem.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's what you have to remember is, although that problem is here in the now, will it be here next year? Will it be here the year after? And you'll probably find through talking and through, will open up other avenues. So for me, just don't have that long-term solution for a short-term issue.
100%, and just reach out, and talking doesn't have to be verbal. You can. There's so many organisations you can text,
but like
email.
I said, it was that through that Google form that she asked us a question. We answered it the best that we could. We're not professionals, and we always say we're not professionals, but we're two people that have lived experience. And we're only saying what we wish somebody had said to us. So no, it's amazing. Just want a quick shout out to mental health ice hockey team.
Oh, nice.
Just played last weekend at a tournament up in Sheffield.
Oh, nice.
But various charities from Mind, the various other mental health charities.
That's cool.
So the whole team represent a different charity.
Oh, nice.
And I think
that's cool.
I think for all the different charities, don't quote me on it, it's about £13,500.
Wow,
they've raised.
That's incredible.
So, but there's various charities throughout the day.
Great, thank you. So, you've been listening to the Let's Chat Derbyshire podcast. This will be coming out just before World Suicide Prevention Day. So we'll be sharing lots of other bits around that. And really appreciate if you'd share this with someone who benefit from listening to it, maybe in your workplace or someone you know. But thank you for your time, Ryan. It's
absolutely
been
my
really
pleasure.
Appreciative. Cheers, thank you.
All right, thank you guys.